All right. Super Bowl Sunday, hip hop took center stage, and it was billed as Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar taking the halftime show, and 50 Cent came as a special guest.
Cool. Cool.
Um, what were your first of all, let me ask you this, and I guess we could start here. On a scale from 1 to 10, what would you rate the halftime show and why?
Well, it deserves at least a five because they didn't blow it. Like they didn't mess it up. Okay. So it's like, how you play dominoes, it's like 10 to get in. Well, the buy-in on this is like a five piece. So they got at least a five for that. It had some moments. It had some low moments. It had some high moments. It had some mid moments. I'm gonna give it about a seven. Like thinking that's a kind seven.
Yeah.
That's a kind seven. And that's just about a couple of moments. Like I was I'm into the nuances of things, and so you and I were having a conversation earlier today. I think we both were in our cars driving while we were having this conversation. At least you sounded like you was in the car, Mike.
Yeah, I was in the car.
Right.
I'll be on
But
the move, man.
right. But I was talking about how I thought it was special that Dre actually hopped up on the piano and played, and you were like, "Well, was he really playing?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I hope so, because he's considered to be our greatest hip hop producer ever, and it's a dope moment to see the greatest producer in hip hop history show some musicianship and
Can I
instrument.
interject real quick?
No. Have it,
I,
please.
I went and listened to this performance again in my headphones, in my Dre Beats headphones, by the way. A little plug there, right? For the third time before, we would do the show. And as a person who, I play instrument, I play saxophone or whatever, and I noticed that there were some piano rolls before Dre's fingers hit the keys, and after his fingers came off the keys and went back and did still DRE. I'm not totally convinced he was playing the piano. And I'm just being honest, you know what I mean? I ain't trying to shit on Dre. Not saying that he can't play the piano. And sometimes people who can play instruments, at a beginner's level might not feel totally comfortable, especially after a set like that, to go out there on a Super Bowl stage and play a few chords here and there. Because it wasn't like he was out there playing anything intricate. It's not like he went out there on some, let's just keep it real. We've seen Scott Storch go out there and play those same riffs, and it's different. It looks different. The feel of it looks different, and I'm not even talking about him bobbing his head and all that. Just
Talking
the
about the
finger
handwork. Talking about the
placement,
handwork. Yeah,
yes.
talking about the handwork.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? The handwork is different, and I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm listening. There obviously was either a track somewhere or another piano somewhere that was playing those roles before and after he finished. So I'm like, okay, I don't know. You know what I mean? So, but go ahead.
No, I'm glad that you did that. You're on a nice little investigative report run. I think this documentary that you're doing it's got you got you in like an investigative reporter mode, but it's dope though. I like to see it. But what I was saying is just that's one of those things where it's like a subtle showcase moment. I like the fact that they tried to do it. If he didn't play the keys, I would have liked it more if he played the keys because you and I had this conversation behind the scenes. I mean, Mike, you play. Mike, I haven't told too many people this. I actually took piano and keyboard lessons very, very early on in my life, and I remember how all that stuff works. And we've been in studios, been around people. I told you, Mike, every producer I've ever been in the studio with has been able to play keys or chords on some sort of level, at least get through a little, you know what I'm saying, enough to get started and cook it up. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right.
for him being 40 years into the music business, and Mike, we know the keys to I Ain't Mad at You on the piano. Like, that's not like you. It's not Beethoven. Like, he's not, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I mean, I can play some of that stuff, and I and
Right.
I don't
That's what
even
I'm saying.
consider
Like, I
myself
told you.
a
So
keys player.
right. Can I say what I said behind the scenes? It's like I'm pretty certain if you gave me and Mike those keys for an hour or two, we could walk
Yeah.
out the room playing those keys. It
But do
ain't
you
like
feel comfortable doing that on a Super Bowl stage? When you're not a
after,
player like that. Yeah.
after after 40 years of being in the music business and being behind the boards the way that he has, yeah, you should feel comfortable doing that live, Mike. Because I just said you give us a couple hours, we probably gonna come out like knowing how to play that little riff. It ain't like it's a long riff, Mike. You just sitting up here hitting about three or four chords and you flipping them over.
Let me get to the super chat real quick, and I'll let you finish. DeCarlo, shout out to you for the super chat. He says, Eminem had the best performance. Don't at me in the chat. LOL. We'll get to that in a second because I do think he had one of the better performances. Yes, I said that. Yes. What I didn't like about Dr. Dre playing that I Ain't Mad at You is it gives the illusion that he produced that song.
No, I don't like that at all. It's
You
very
know what I'm
problematic.
saying? And because everything that was on the stage for the most part was a Dr. Dre production. Because can we just say this Super Bowl halftime was about Dr. Dre and him as a producer and arranger and all the artists that he's cultivated over the years. Even Mary J. Blige's contribution, we knew that it was going to be family affair. I think we called damn near all the songs that were on this. With the exception of In the Club, that hit me by surprise. They didn't do What's My Name from Snoop. I'm going to get into that in a minute. And No More Drama from Mary. I think those are the ones, at least, that I had off.
I should have never done
You were finishing a thought. I'm sorry, because I'm gonna go in when I go in.
I already know. Like, this is definitely your day, Mike. I've been seeing you on social media all weekend, too. It's like, okay. It's like, get to the show on Wednesday, for God's sake.
Man, I couldn't wait for this show.
I see, Mike. You've been dropping, like, blurbs all weekend long. Okay.
I got notes. You can't see this, but yeah, the light's in the way. I got notes.
So let's start with, yes, Dre's the centerpiece and the focal point. We can just go ahead and wash my thoughts. You know what I'm saying? That's that. Let's move to the next part of it. Let's start with DeCarlo's point, and you're kind of piggybacking off of it.
Mm-hmm.
What made Eminem's performance so great? Let's start right there.
Okay, we'll start with Eminem.
The other side of it. Maybe I'm on the other side of it. First of all, no, Mike, I do want to finish my point. Who produced I Ain't Mad at You? Johnny J, right?
I believe so. Let me look that up. And that's one piece of research I didn't do.
Right, it's either Johnny J or Daz. Because it's not Dre.
Give me a second, because I just put this thing on airplane mode.
No, you stay in airplane mode, and I'll look it up.
Yeah, look it up real quick. But yeah, as far as the Eminem performance, do you want me to go there, or have you looked?
Go there while I'm looking up the credits.
Okay, let me get back in airplane mode. All right, this is what I will say about Eminem's performance. I think that he was the performer that was first of all, he was able to perform his best song. That's first off, and I think that of all the performers, only Dre and Eminem were allotted to be able to perform their best song. Daz produced it? Okay. Well, finish your thought, because I don't want to skip around too much, and then we'll get on this Eminem thing. Finish your thought about Daz producing I Ain't Mad at You.
No. It's just the fact that it's like, they just threw Tupac like up in the mix, and I told you I wasn't a fan of it. And it's like, okay, if we throwing Pac up in the mix, like, why are you doing I Ain't Mad at You? It's like Daz did the beat. I thought it was Johnny J, but either way you want to play it, I don't like it. We can get back to the Eminem thing.
Okay. All right. As far as Eminem's performance, again, he was able to perform one of his stronger songs, and I think that I want to start from the beginning. And kind of build up, right? I think that this whole image that Dr. Dre has cultivated for Eminem from the jump has been brilliant. They started off as like, this quirky rapper who was non-threatening, but we knew he had abilities, right? Goofy stuff, you know what I'm saying? Got in the game on some goofy stuff, right? Are you okay?
I'm fine. Keep going, Mike.
Got in the game on some goofy stuff, and I think that when they did the back and forth song, not Bad Intentions, you know what I'm talking about.
Bad Meets Evil with Royce?
No, with Dr. Dre and Eminem.
Oh, Guilty Conscience.
Guilty Conscience. So that's been Dr. Dre and Eminem's relationship this whole time, right? Like Dr. Dre is the voice of reason to Slim Shady's craziness, right? Even on What's the Difference or whatever, or even like when
Dre.
Yeah, or even it's like Dr. Dre said, nothing, you idiots, Dr. Dre's dead, all that stuff. It's like Dr. Dre is keeping him in line, right? And then they went from that to 8 Mile. Now we're taking Eminem serious. Now we're actually looking at him as an MC because this is a battle rap situation, right? This is him trying to come up as an MC. None of the goofy stuff. The goofy stuff goes out the window with 8 Mile, which I think was brilliant. And what they've been able to do ever since 8 Mile, they've been able to make that Eminem's image. And so fast forward to this show, he had the only real hip hop moment on the show. It wasn't it wasn't no dancing. It was him emceeing. Crowd comes up there and hands up like they're at a show.
So you did like that or didn't like that?
I did like it. I think that, again, it went off really well, like I said. In this very watered down performance of a lot of these records where you got choreographed sea walking and stuff, this was actually the only moment where it wasn't all of this corny dancing. It was actually the only moment where you actually had real, like a fake hip hop audience, but it looked like a real hip hop show. It was a reenactment of the 8 Mile movie, which is a reenactment of hip hop or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So yes, I think that Eminem was given the opportunity to give the most hip hop performance on this stage, which is wild. Oh, I see people in the chat saying Eminem's performance was mid, Mike. I get you. I think the whole shit was mid. But if we talk about like as far as, and I'm not giving Eminem super props, but I don't think he did what he came there for. You know what I'm saying? He came out there, and I mean, of course, you got Anderson .Paak on the drums, cheesing and stuff or whatever, and you know, you had the guitar solos and all that. You know, it was a little theatrics there, but it was to me, it was better than the other performers outside of Snoop. Outside of Snoop, I think, to rewind, I think as far as performing, you could tell that Snoop is the guy who's active and constantly outperforming at concerts. Snoop killed his part on next episode. Unfortunately, they didn't give Snoop an opportunity to do anything. Snoop went out there and did his verse on next episode, and after that, he was a hype man. I think it's unfortunate, man. I think that was my first critique. And I'm going to go to my notes. Are you cool with me going to my notes, or did you have any other, No.
I have plenty to say, Mike, but I know, Mike, go ahead.
I want to start with the sound. Because this is a Dr. Dre concert, right? This is a Dr. Dre performance. I think the sound was suspect. And, that was one of the things I was really expecting to be great, because I know what Dr. Dre's performances are like. I had the Up in Smoke DVDs, right? And we could talk about these performers being in their 50s and all that stuff, but the sound, that has nothing to do with your age, right? And so I'm turning the volume up on my TV, and I'm thinking that maybe I'm just too gassed about the performance, and I put the TV in a setting where I done messed up the sound or whatever. And I talked to my mom, you know what I mean? My mom's a musician too. And she was like, the sound was bad. And I was like, word. And then I heard that from some other people. And I'm like, for this to be Dr. Dre and a Dr. Dre production, and this is supposed to be billed as a Dr. Dre, him being a producer and all of these artists that he's able to galvanize on this big stage, the sound was something that I expected to be dope. I thought that the sound was going to be better than any sound that we had ever heard on that stage.
So, can we pause right there for a second?
It's a lot to dissect, and we got a couple super chats I want to get to too. We ain't forgot you, but we'll get to you.
So, Mike, you're saying the sound sucked. Now, Mike, you know how this works. Dr. Dre is a producer. He's an engineer. He's not the soundstage and lighting manager for the Super Bowl, Mike. We can't hold Dr. Dre hostage about the sound.
I hear you, but have you heard the Coachella set? Have you heard, I know you went to the Up in Smoke. I did too. The DVDs of that, it's phenomenal how their music comes through. Even when Snoop does concerts on his own, the sound is on point.
Those are things that he has more control over than this spectrum. Correct. Now,
so you don't think that?
No. Let's address. No. Mike, who Who threw this event?
The Super Bowl, but at the end of the day,
No. Who's responsible for the entertainment portion?
are you talking about Rock Nation?
There we
Well,
go, Mike. That's who we need to be talking to about that right there.
well,
Not
so hold
Dre.
on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
They're responsible
You
for the
don't think,
show.
you don't
Sound
think.
stage? No. It's called sound, stage, and lighting. How does it start? Sound. Who's responsible? Rock Nation. Who's the performer? Because Dr. Dre is not in production, executive producer, engineer mode in this format. He is in centerpiece star format, performer.
But he
Not
always is. You don't think that the people that he normally has to do the production, sound stage production, you don't think that they weren't involved in this? Well, again, I'm not holding this against Dr. Dre, right? I'm not holding this. I'm not holding this against Dr. Dre as an individual. It's an indictment on the show in general, and so we're judging the show, right?
Right. So when we're handing out indictments, Mike, we need to make sure we pulling up to the right houses. You know what I'm saying? Those are indictments. We can't be pulling up to the wrong house. The indictment about the sound belongs in Rock Nation's house. And I'm going to kind of just piggyback right quick and let you get back to it, Mike, because that's part of the reason why I had a problem with it. It's like, okay, it's getting ran by Rock Nation. Is that why y'all played Still DRE?
Of course it is. That's why it was on all the commercials and everything. Yes.
And we gonna get to all of that in a second, Mike, because a lot of your complaints, Mike, is why I just wanted to hear Deep Cover and Murder Was the Case, because I know it was about to be saccharine up in here. So at least some part of it could have been gangsta, which was the music.
Let me get to the super chat, and I'm gonna get to some of my other points in the notes.
Yes,
DeCarlo says, DeCarlo says something that I'm about to bring up in my notes. He says Snoop didn't get the shine like they let Eminem and 50 Cent. He should have been the MVP.
Mike's been saying it all weekend. Mike's been saying it.
The problem with that, and let me get to the other super chat, and I'm gonna finish that thought. Shout out to the Combs 444. Yeah, we love that album.
No,
he says, glad y'all mentioned it. The halftime show was not good. Snoop was the best presentation and performance. Dre, Mary, 50 were all right. Eminem and Kendrick, not good. Okay. All right. Well, let me get to that Snoop Dogg point, because they built this, and they might not have said it in this way, but when they were doing media, this was billed as a Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre thing. You know what I'm saying? And I think we were talking about this offline. Whenever Dr. Dre's doing anything, ever since he left NWA, he needs Snoop by his side. He wouldn't have been able to pull off Deep Cover without Snoop Dogg on there. When he jumped away from Death Row and did Aftermath initially, Snoop wasn't involved. We didn't want to hear it like that. Been There, Done That. It's not a terrible song, but that album, without Snoop involved, we haven't really been checking for Dre. And when Snoop got back in the fold, 2001. Still DRE, as incredible of a record it is, without Snoop's involvement, it's not the same record. They used Snoop's name and likeness, and when it came down to the actual show, they used him as a prop. He does one verse on next episode. That's not even his song. You got Snoop Dogg on the stage. Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre on stage. And y'all not doing What's My Name? Y'all not doing Gin and Juice? Come on, man. But they was playing it in all the promos.
Try to tell you.
That disappointed me. Now, that disappointed me, because I think What's My Name is probably one of the strongest songs, period. We talked about that song on this show. We talk about Doggy Style. Was anything from Doggy Style on that set?
So there we go. That's the biggest tragedy, Mike.
Anything from Doggy Style on the set. And you think that any of these people should have been put on that show, on Dr. Dre's show, and given placement over Snoop? Nobody.
Here's where I was surprised. This is what I'm saying about that saccharine, Mike. Because, well, if you really notice, Mike, did they play anything from The Chronic?
Well, I mean, they did in transition. They did like G Thing real quick.
Right. So we got the G Thing loop from The Chronic. We got No Doggy Style.
We got No Doggy Style.
Oh, so let's stop for a second. Y'all made Dre and Snoop the headliners, and all we got between The Chronic and a Doggy Style was a G Thing loop?
And we're in LA, by the way. Let's take that back. We're in LA.
So So now, Mike, I'm gonna go back to when you was like laughing, like, no, they're not gonna do that. When I was like, no, they need to do deep cover, and murder was the case. You see what I'm saying now? Because it was already about to be watered down. The one thing that they could have fought about was the music, and they even conformed to that completely. That's what I'm saying. It's like for real, like real talk. I love Still Dre. It's a great record, but when you're playing that and you're not playing anything from the Chronic and Doggy Style, flag on the play.
DFW Herbie says they didn't play anything before 2000, according to Hip Hop. And DeCarlo said they only played 2000s music. But why? Was that? Do y'all think that was intentional or something? Because I mean, y'all are saying that like that was announced or something. Because when we think about Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre as they promoted it in that way, we don't think about the 2000s. Let's just be real. They did California Love. Yes, that was early, right? All right, I want to get to California Love too, since y'all mentioned it. Dre sounded like he was struggling on there, breath-wise. But again, like I said, it's these are older performers. I think California Love should have been the closer. But to allude to what you said earlier, it seemed like Still DRE was the closer because, Jay-Z wrote the song.
And handling the show. Correct.
And handling the show. I think that politics and I guess mainstream acceptance definitely affected the flow of the show. Because if you talk about Kendrick Lamar's set, and I know I'm kind of skipping around a little bit, I mean, All Right sonically doesn't even fit in this show. I think when Mary did No More Drama, I think that was to possibly transition into that. But, I mean, it just doesn't. Does Lose Yourself Lose Yourself makes sense as an opener, maybe. But when you talk about the catalogs of these individuals, does Lose Yourself even make sense in this show? Does All Right even make sense in this show?
Well, what are we trying to do with the show, Mike? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What were they doing with it? What was
the
show?
All right, this is the thing. This is in LA, right? And I feel like when you're promoting this as a Dr. Dre Snoop thing, this is to celebrate LA. I think California Love should have definitely been the closer. Well, first of all, let me rewind.
Hey, Mike. No. Rewind right quick, Mike. I'll be right back. Give me 10 seconds.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna let you get back because I do want to make this point. I'm gonna go to the chat. Damian Harris says Miles Cali Love has been trash. Royalties they owe. Let's see. Leah Main said Eminem was performing, so if Eminem is there, 50 is going to be there too. Eminem was not going to perform without his partner and brother for life, 50 Cent. Y'all really believe that? I don't know. I think the whole 50 Cent thing was interesting in a sense where it wasn't too much of a quote-unquote surprise, so I don't know why 50 Cent just wasn't on the bill in the first place. This is what, all right.
No, so no, Mike, that was the curveball of the show that I did like, because it was like he wasn't advertised or market or build up at all, and so the biggest surprise factor was when him hanging from the roof, like a la in the club. No, that was the moment. And just real quick, Mike, to all of y'all clowning, like 50, like In the Club came out in what, Mike, 2003? 3?
Yeah, 2 maybe, but yeah, the video 3, yeah.
It's like 20 years old?
19 years ago, yeah.
Mike, I'm one of the few people I know that's about the same weight that I was 20 years ago. The rest of y'all need to be quiet. Just real talk.
It's very tough.
Y'all been giving 50 a lot of smoke. It's like, no. I'm about the same size I was 20 years ago. Most of y'all look like 5th.
I think the thing is, man, like, you could tell that a lot of the people that were performing just aren't consistently performing now, right? Like, because I went back and I was looking at the Prince halftime. And, we know how Prince gigs as a musician. And he was out there performing as a musician. And you would like to see active performers on a halftime show. And the only person who looked like they were an active performer to me was Snoop. And he got the least amount of time. So, all right, this is what it should have been.
Dre looked old.
He
looked old physically and performance-wise. And then I thought to myself, and I started asking myself this immediately when him and Snoop came out on stage, I was like, When's the last time Drake performed? When's the last time any of these guys other than Snoop performed?
Exactly. Eminem doesn't perform.
I ain't heard about an Eminem show.
You know, Mary might go do a Essence Fest or something now and then, but
Mary performs.
Mary performs on a consistent basis.
She just picked an awful song, Mike.
I mean, she picked the only song she could pick. Oh, you talking about No More Drama?
Yeah.
Okay, let me go to that part real quick. And I know this is a hip hop show, but we talk about transitions. That was a terrible decision to have Mary go. Mary's 50 plus, respectfully. That was a terrible decision to have her go from an upbeat song, dancing, to a ballad where she had to sing. She sounded bad because she was winded. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, I know the whole meme of her falling on the stage and all that stuff. That didn't even have to happen. One thing I will say about Beyonce, they do a very good job of sequencing her shows out. And they make sure she gets breaks. They make sure if it's an upbeat, you know what I'm saying, they'll slow it down in a different way, but they'll make sure there's something in there where she can get her breath. And she's never going to go in a situation where she's out of breath, but she's much younger than Mary is.
Mike, same thing with Janet. Janet's show set up that way too. They let her breathe.
Yeah.
They didn't let Mary breathe. And not only did they not let her breathe, it was a poor song selection. There are so many more this is the Super Bowl. That's Mary. It's like we knew Family Affair was happening, Mike. I thought that's all that was happening with Mary. And it's like, you're going to give her a second song? And it's like, we're not going to get Real Love? Or if you want to go ballad, Mike, like do one of the funky ballads, like Love No Limit. You know what I'm saying? I'm Going Down, the Rolls Royce Me Mary. Or the Mary Jane Girls, or you know what I'm saying?
Well, see that goes. If you
want to go deep, Mary, play Be Happy. Don't play No More Drama. Play Be Happy.
But see,
the Super Bowl,
that goes into them playing to a crossover audience, and see them playing into a crossover audience. I think is overrated because at the end of the day, let's just keep it real. Black music runs that stage, has ran that stage, started that stage, and you're sitting here trying to do your most watered down material and you're messing up the sequence of these sets.
Right. You should be saying it's 187 on an Undercover Cop.
Well, they're not going to do that. Now, I'm not asking you to go. I ain't asking them to go there.
Just making a point about the music and staying with the core of it because you're in a format where you're about to be marginalized, conformed, and watered down. You have most authority and control over the music. And Mike, you want to know who exhibited that the best and gave us the best performance at the same time? You already mentioned him. That's what I'm talking about, having control of the music. Who gave us our best Super Bowl performance?
I think it was Prince.
Right.
And I'm a Michael guy. And you know what?
And Mike, he kept it so black. Mike, it rained and this fool put a scarf on. Like, you're not about to mess up my hair. Every black man and woman understood. It's like, this nigga coming out in a scarf. It's like, that's my guy.
I mean, even his song selection when he did Proud Mary, and then when he went out there and did the Foo Fighters cover, like he just did what he wanted to do. It wasn't, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't a conforming thing.
It's like, it's raining. Is it Purple Rain? Hold on one second. Shh. Let's go. Yeah.
But see, again, he's a performer, and I think that the performance level, there was a gap between Snoop and everybody else. Do you think that they possibly minimized Snoop's contribution on stage because he was so much better of a performer than others?
I mean, he's still the biggest star on that stage. I don't care what anybody else says. Period. Like, because here's the thing about it. You know how there's like the little footage of them showing like Snoop doing what he's doing before? Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? That's because everybody's watching Snoop all the time. You didn't watching what them other dudes was doing before because you was waiting for Snoop.
Okay.
Right.
Let me get to my notes, man. I think that, first of all, I think that the show would have been a lot more effective if it was just a Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg show. Now, if y'all wanted to bring out, you know, Eminem to go out there and do Lose Yourself real quick or do Forgot About Dre, I think that would have went off very well. I don't know where Kendrick places here.
It's not even a Dre beat.
I'm just going to be honest, man. And you know I like Kendrick, man. And we both like Kendrick. And I know people who are just now becoming followers and viewers of the show probably think that we don't like Kendrick because of some of the things we say. But what I'm gonna say is, man, this whole artsy fartsy approach to performing every single time, it's starting to get corny. Maybe I'm just dumb. What was the meaning of his performance in that way? I mean, at some point we're gonna have to start explaining what, you know what I'm saying, these actual performances mean. Because the first thing I thought was like, because he wear kufi don't mean that he nice. Did he right?
So I'm gonna tell you what. One of my favorite painters, Mike, Salvador Dali. Salvador Dali is one of the worst people ever at explaining the brilliance behind his work. He's like one of the worst at it. But Mike, he at least explained it, even if you didn't like it, even if it wasn't something that was understandable. Like the persistence of memory painting, he said that was about a lucid dream that he had because he ate too much camembert cheese the night before. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
but
right.
He made an explanation for it, though. It's like the explanation sucks, but there's an explanation. He does a lot of things artistically that we gravitate towards, Mike. And this is what I mean, is like, no, fam, this is not 2015. Tell me what you're doing and why. Because, you know, like,
what does this mean?
Break it down for me. Like,
what's these blonde hairs, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's this?
No, I understood that transitionally because that let me know that Eminem was about to pop up when I see the blonde. I was like, okay, is
that what you took from that?
That's the only thing that I took from when I saw the blonde hair. I was like, so Kendrick then Eminem. He's setting Eminem up for Eminem to come in. It's a setup.
DeCarlo with another super chat. Shout out to you. He said, Mike, did you see the performers with Kendrick? They had Slim Shady blonde hair. So that's where y'all went from that. Like, but what does that even mean? Like I said, man, this whole left open for interpretation, to me, it's starting to become one of those things where it's like, let me just do some weirdo shit and let people just make up their explanations from it. I don't know, man. I think that Kendrick's nice on the mic. I don't think that he needs the gimmicks, but when it comes to his performances, they're starting to come across very gimmicky. Because again, there's no context. No one even knows what this means. Like, I know y'all said y'all like the performance. Of course he executed, he does what he does when it comes to that, but what does this mean?
I mean, I can't disagree with you, Mike. I don't have like any real retort for you. That's why I bring up the whole Salvador Dali. And like, I bring up Salvador Dali because of the order that Kendrick is placed in as an artist in terms of how he pieces things together. And it's like, no. Even guys who speak and deal in the art world abstractly explain. Picasso explains. Salvador Dali explains. And let's also get this clear when I'm saying this. Oh, he's not Salvador Dali or Picasso as far as MCing goes. So, like, he's not above explaining. That's why I'm using Salvador Dali as a reference point. It's like where Salvador Dali is in the canon of painters is not where Kendrick is in the canon of MCs. As in Salvador Dali is somewhere higher in his canon than you are in yours. But he still explains the medium that he operates in. Frida Kahlo, like, we can do this all day, Mike. People explain. Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, Charlie Parker. Which genre or medium do you want to exist in where genius is explained?
Joe Bro says that we're nitpicking, and I knew that was going to come across as this, you know, especially, you know, when I start taking my notes. All right, look, when I saw the performance live, you know, again, I think I was underwhelmed by the sound and all that, and I was like, you know, it's cool. But see, the reaction of people saying it's the best Super Bowl halftime show ever, we're going to have to take a real close look at this. So this isn't even the best performance that these guys have put on. And it's far from it. Can anybody in the chat, hold on real quick, Coop. Can anybody in the chat explain to us what that Kendrick Lamar performance meant? Because again, maybe I'm slow.
Prince played Let's Go Crazy in a scarf in the rain. Conversation over.
I mean, we can go beyond Prince, but, you know, I just think that overall it...
Oh, they're saying it's the greatest show ever, so we're going to reference the greatest show and, like, show the separation. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like a dude plays the guitar, like, in the rain live for you, and you think that, like, That was like, what are we doing? Like, I be telling people, like, and we do a hip hop podcast. Like, we got to start placing stuff properly, though.